Resilience research has been going on for decades and surged after World War II. With the focus on resilience after crises, we can better understand what makes us vulnerable or strong when faced with adversity. We have been deep in this global pandemic that has tested the resilience of all areas of our lives, from finances, relationships, health, coping, to even just facing ourselves. We have been confronted. There is no better time to midwife our sacred stories as anecdotal evidence to uncover resilience strategies in the studies of our lives. Storytelling transforms polarization to compassion. A story opens hearts, empowers, and inspires. It sparks hope and deepens wisdom. We are the hypothesis, the research, and the answer. Shared stories are the universal medicine in our journey toward collective optimal resilience. I bring to you the I Am Resilient podcast. The I Am Resilient podcast brings you stories of resilience, research, and insights from across the globe with the goal to educate people about resilience so that they can cultivate resilience consciously and overcome life's challenges to live with meaning, purpose, and strength. Welcome to the podcast. In this episode, I sit down with the Madame herself, Christa Fontaine. Aside from being a long-term ally and inspiration in my life, she's a storyteller, a creative, and the director of the elevated and multifaceted collective New Motive. She has a long history of healing, connecting, and guiding souls on their most authentic journey, and she is a pillar of truth and light. In this episode, Christa outlines the 3 S's for resilience, and she shares some stories about her resilience journey. I hope you enjoy. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm so good. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to just hear your voice. It's such a pleasure. And
I
I wasn't
know.
planning to start the podcast world, but I thought, there are people all over the world that experience voice as medicine. And I think that people like you and many other people will be in people's earbuds, giving them exactly what they need. So thank you.
I think so. Yeah. I think you're right. I mean, I'm thinking back to 2 years ago, which is one of probably like the last time we saw each other, when we were sitting on my couch and recording from my phone, just kind of face to face, and
Oh my gosh.
how much
Yeah.
has evolved and shifted for us and for the world during that time. And, yeah, I mean, it aligns super well for me as far as like time wise goes, with it being, just 9 days out from coming to the 1 year anniversary of my mom's passing. And also my newfound love for media and recording, and like elevating my resources, my tools, in a way to have the message and the magic be shared, in the light that it deserves, right? With just a little more support. So it's been nice to make a couple of like small investments and just be on this path really in a committed way. So It's perfect. Like the timing is absolutely perfect.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where are you right now?
So I'm living in La Paz in Baja California Sur, Mexico.
Oh my gosh. Is it like paradise or?
I mean, it is, of course it is. It's the desert, and we're on the Sea of Cortez side, where the last kind of year and a half I was on the Pacific side. And I've been in Mexico since January 2020.
Wow.
So a year and a half. And, the timing of everything has been so interesting. I mean, I felt this super big pull and magnet to like get myself a little bit more situated, like while I was still living in the RV, and like, pulling up to different beaches and stuff like that. I was and I'm definitely comfortable with that. I love that a lot. But I was, and this is pre-pandemic, and I'm like, well, I'm gonna stay. I think I'm gonna choose. I'm gonna make this decision. I'm gonna stay, and I'm actually gonna put it out there. And it was Friday the 13th March last year, that I had arrived in my new like little landing pad, and it was over that weekend that it took the world by storm.
Yeah. Wow.
Mhm.
Holy
And
moly.
then weeks later, I found out of my mom's terminal illness. So
Mm.
it just all happened, but I was where I was supposed to be. And so, asking, is it paradise, just to come kind of full circle, is like, to me at this point, what this chapter in my life is represented is like, this is the land and the environment that has held me through
Wow.
some of the darkest and most like transformative times in my life. And where I am now, like I'm a lot more grounded. I'm healing. I've just had a double eye surgery, so I literally have
Wow.
20/20 vision. And so, it's so metaphorical, but it's also very literal. And I'm here with my 2 dogs. And, I've decided to stay again, but like in a different way, So it was like before, it was kind of like, oh, hang out here. And now it's like, okay, well, after the initiation that has been this past year and a half, I'm like, okay, well, time to make another commitment, but like from a really different lens. So,
Wow, literally and
yeah,
metaphorically, that's amazing. Holy. Did you have
yeah.
surgery in Mexico?
So, what surgery? Sorry?
Your eye surgery.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it turns out, so you'll love this, Nikita. Um, my surgeon, Dr. Lechuga, which is very cute because it means lettuce in Spanish.
Oh.
But he's somewhat of a kind of local hero in the area, and actually in the world. He's the president of vision, with like, I don't know the actual, like the specific word. It's not optomo like,
Is it ophthalmology?
optom yeah, in something, and in all of Latin America. And
Wow.
his father, who just passed 6 months ago, and we were able to meet in that space, as doctor and patient, and bonding over our parents passing within the last year.
Wow.
So I couldn't have literally been in better hands. And this is a surgery I've known I've needed to have for the last 3.5 years.
Wow. And
So
trusting somebody in another country too. Do you speak Spanish?
I do. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Very possible, like very, very possible, and I'm not like, I'm not, fluent, but I
Oh,
get
okay.
by. But his English was perfect. And I had actually met an eye surgeon in Victoria some years ago when I first, found out that I had cataracts, and that was what was impairing my vision. And I didn't feel safe with that doctor at all. Like, he held no
Wow.
space. And I mean, Dr. Lechuga is very trauma informed, and the space that he was able to provide for me, and like just the initial consultation, like, it was a full body yes from me. I knew absolutely, like, this is exactly the person, the time, this is it. Like, it couldn't have felt more aligned.
Wow. When it is
And
supposed to happen.
yeah.
Yeah.
And when I had my second, so they did them separately, a few weeks apart. I had the second eye. It was actually the 11-month memorial of my mom's passing, and I had just found out some pretty blindsiding news the night previous, and like my emotional cup was completely full, and I really didn't have space to endure another kind of healing episode. Like, just, I probably could have called it off. Like, that's how emotionally unstable I was that day. Which it did result in a panic attack in the OR, like, and
Really?
yeah, and again, the way that he conducted himself and the way that I was able to, in that moment, advocate for myself and like let the team know what I needed, it to the point where like everyone took pause, and I
Yeah.
requested that we like breathe together. Like, I'm like,
Oh my
I need
gosh.
breath right now. Like, I just need to.
You are amazing. Wow.
Mhm.
It's crazy because it almost seems like a potent medicine ceremony, like reaching that
Mhm.
level of emotional fullness and sort of wanting to tap out,
Mhm. Mhm.
and just pressing through because that's what, you had to do. And you had to bring the people along with you and say, this is what I'm going through. This is what I'm seeing.
And that really, I mean, this ties in fully to the theme of our conversation today, which is like one of the way that I wanted to respond to one of your questions, which we can come full circle to, but I'll just share this now, is that I really feel like it's imperative for us to meet like the edge of our emotion in its full capacity, so that
Yeah.
that we don't need to continue flailing and put efforts forward, that we can just like land, because that emotion is not, it can feel harmful when it's concocted with many different elements. However, in essence, it's there to show us, to reveal itself to us. So can we arrive at the edge, at the bottom of that emotion, and experience surrender into it in
Yeah.
fullness, so that we can actually
Wow.
feel held by that,
Yeah.
and we get this vantage point that we wouldn't get if we were out in the blue, if we were just swimming and exerting ourselves and like seeking, where we could just finally land to the full spectrum, to the full tip, and then regather ourselves and move on.
You're so amazing. You are so amazing. I'm so excited that you are actually my first guest on the podcast. So
Oh,
this is going to be lovely.
wow. Yeah. You know what, Nikita, if you're open to it, I really feel like we should continue. Like, I don't
Yeah.
think we need to stop and check in. I feel like we are where we need to be right now to let ourselves continue flowing.
Yeah, I agree. That
Mhm.
works well for me.
Great. Yeah.
My goodness. So, I
Mhm.
mean, I wrote an introduction for
Okay.
to
Yeah.
introduce you, but I
Okay.
wanted you to introduce yourself. For the listeners, I will begin to say that you are a true healer. You are a soul whisperer. And I would describe the way that you are with people as almost shamanic, like the sounds of your voice and the ways that you move is medicinal. And I would say that you're a creator of maybe experiential medicine. Would you agree?
Wow. Nikita, thank you for being that radical reflection to me, and showing your lens, because that's really indicative of your heart, and the way that you interact with the world. So to be able to see
Mm,
me in that way, I receive that fully, and I'm truly grateful. And I would agree. Yes,
mm,
I would agree. Thank
good.
you.
You're
Hmm.
welcome. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. Would you like me to?
Yeah.
Okay. Um, Wow. Okay. How many times in our life do we get this opportunity to kind of recreate, and like crack the egg basically on the infinite potentiality that, each and every individual is, and in any given moment, and like how much that can change and shift and move, and like, again, feeling so safe, like, and in an intimate space to like express yourself and begin again. I'm I'm Christa Fontaine, and the only title that has managed
Mm.
to make itself, beautifully known, and that feels that it matches my frequency, is the Madame. And I suppose in a way that there's elements of
Mm.
magic and authority, self-authority, and, this radical embodiment of, who I am and how I'm represented so that others can be more in their fullness as well, right? So I'm a pillar of truth, integrity, connection, and transcendence in the world. And the torch of my light is here very much in active service for others to
Mm.
re-spark, reignite, and remember who they are, what their magic and what their medicine is, and so that they can, you know, literally have every expression be an extension of their soul.
Mm.
So I know that I haven't answered it in definitive terms, but that's not really my style.
That's perfect. Praying for. And when and how were you drawn to what you do? Was there a day that you woke up, or were you
Mm.
born with this ability to feel in a particular way, and this ability to connect with people and draw these feelings out of them and allow them to connect with themselves? Or, what if you feel comfortable sharing?
Absolutely. I full-heartedly was born this way.
Mm.
Yep. There's not a doubt in my mind, and the more that I make imperfect practice and put into play, what I truly believe is my passion and my pursuit, then the stronger that light radiates outwards. And it just becomes so apparent that even during like my darkest hours, that because I can experience darkness, that is proof that we are made of light and that
Mm.
we are love, and it's a returning to love. And yeah, so I came in with countless lifetimes under my metaphorical belt, and
Yeah.
there's this, readiness and full acceptance of the soul's pull to, make this incarnation really matter and really
Mm.
count. And yeah, I've known that since I was young, although not being able to articulate and connect with it in a way that made me feel empowered, but actually made me feel more misplaced than anything. And yeah, I think that
Mm.
there's a commonality in the way that we tell stories, that's definitely a golden thread throughout the change makers, and the trailblazers and
Mm.
innovators, creators, visionaries. They could all say something kind of similar.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. And do you feel like this um, inner knowing that this incarnation is driving you to shine that light and make a difference? Is that your tool for keeping yourself resilient and keeping yourself going when you're in these dark times? Or do you have other tools and practices?
You nailed it on the head there with the former, and
Mm.
it really is and continues to be a full felt sense knowing, and a continuous commitment to myself, to the communication within and above, below,
Mm-hmm.
that is, it's omni, like there is no, at no time, there have been times where I felt like I've been on the threshold
Mm-hmm.
of not knowing if my psyche could keep going. Like I didn't, I've had questions about that, and I used to have a fear of like going off the deep end, I called it,
Mm-hmm.
and like going beyond a point of no return. Um, and I suppose because I saw that express itself through my dad, who left like his role, in so, like, I mean that in a multifaceted way. It's not my personal lens of like having a father who abandoned their daughter, but
Mm-hmm.
it was, he left everything, and like there was a complete like disconnection from any kind of title he had been given throughout his life, anything that shaped him or experience that had contributed to who he was as a person at that point in time.
Mm-hmm.
And so I suppose that because the inner world is so wild, imaginative, um, and yeah, like very experiential, very dynamic, I've wondered if I will stay, if I've got staying power. But because of that curiosity, because I've been willing to stick around and find out the answer, continue
Mm-hmm.
to master, continue to mess around, then the answer's in the question, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow, I love that. Thank you
Yeah.
for sharing.
Sure.
I almost feel too that the deeper people go and the more they check in with themselves and
Mhm.
understand themselves, they go through these phases of um, understanding why people would want to end their lives or not push through. And then
Yeah.
they pass that and they realize there's something beyond that. And they realize that, yes, we are all experiencing this world at the same time, all of
Mhm.
the pain and all of the pleasure in different ways.
Mhm.
And yet we're here, we have arrived. We are not going anywhere until fate
Mhm.
decides that. And we have work we can do while we're here. And I think that you have so beautifully seen the magic in what you can do while you are here. And you have illuminated some of the darkest times of your life and made it visible for other people so that they can see what they can also move through. And
Mhm.
you are just truly resilient in who you are authentically.
Mhm.
And I think people are accepting that about themselves. They can show up for who they are. So, and I'm curious about your specific daily practices too, checking in with, the divine or God
Mhm.
or the power, whatever people want to call it. Do you have certain rituals?
There are very simple rituals, kind of your non-negotiable. Well, it's not, everyone's non-negotiables can vary, and they can also
Mhm.
change. But for me, what it takes just about every day, and it becomes stronger, and I'm receiving the benefit of that consistency and that commitment, the more that I like make a concerted effort, is a lit candle, a very full glass of lemon water,
Mm,
a little cafecito, a walk with the
mm,
dogs, an open page in a notebook, a pen, and maybe something that smells nice. And
mm,
really, it's really that. I like to set the space, even if it's a mess. Like there's something about it that's saying, can I find myself here? Is this where, is this my surroundings? Is this Is this a reflection of my inner landscape? How could I turn the dial up on this? Or how can I make it more comfortable? How can I create more space in it, so that the physical matches or enhances, the inside experience?
Mm.
And, for me, really embracing that creativity, my professional expression and my personal are completely interconnected, and that it's a collaboration. So it's a collaboration with the divine. It's a collaboration through my expression and whatever environment in which I'm like choosing to be present with, and then being very, very quiet in that space, and open to receive, in a very candid way. Candid for me is the pathway to magic. So candid and unscripted and a very improv style. That for me, to fully allow myself that permission for a long time, that I really resisted that because people weren't comfortable with that. They were almost
Mm.
like the projection of their lack of comfort for something similar would then prevent me from, fully embracing that that's my approach to creativity,
Mm.
which again, this interconnection, collaboration with divine, they're not separate. When we're feeling relaxed, when we're feeling entertained and lighthearted, we are expressions of God.
Mm. Wow. That is beautiful and perfect in every way.
Yeah.
It almost seems as though the more we think that meaning and strength in life comes from the things that we strive to do, the more
Mm.
behind we get and the less resilient we are, because we will consistently be confronted with these barriers that show up for us.
Mm.
And if we can surrender to be a vessel for what is meant for us, we can let go of anything that brings us the thought that we are failing, because there's
Mm.
nothing to fail at.
Yes, yes. Or that we're missing something, that there's a key element or a resource or a quality that is unpresent, in your realm of possibility, feeling as though you must strive outside of what you already have infinite access to. So feeling as though we need to fill our schedules, we need to fill, our calendar and our spaces and the moments in between with things, it does not allow us to be the everything that we are. It's more reliance on external stimulus or other people to fill in the gaps, and doesn't really allow or invite us to be our own medicine,
Mm,
because we're looking for it outside of ourselves. I think
wow.
I think you'll really like this. So when I sat with one of your questions, I can't remember which one, but I wrote down, and it ended up being the 3 S's. And it's funny and fun because we've got a solstice anthology being released on Friday, and it's called She Spoke Sun,
Mm,
which is a triple S. And to answer one of your questions today was also a triple S, which, is, to me, it's like 555, which
mm,
is the number that has been with me my entire life, shows up in all of my numerology charts, and
wow.
in my RV. It's from 1989, and so had this very like Star Trek black and gold clock that didn't work, and I set the time to 555, and
Wow.
that energy was with me for the entire duration of my travels and beyond. And
Mm,
and remained still. So
Wow.
So the answers, the 3 S's that I want to share with you today are sovereignty, surrender, and support as a way to cultivate more resilience.
Wow. Sovereignty, surrender, and support.
Yeah.
That is beautiful.
To cultivate a more honest and deep and real connection and relationship with ourselves, and being more autonomous and taking accountability, taking ownership, taking up the space that we are worthy of, standing firm, tall, confident in our truth. Surrender is the softness, the openness, the willingness, to interact and be a vessel of whatever creativity or expression, vocation, light that wants to be transmuted through you, the being. Surrendering into the emotion, surrendering into the pose, into the pages, surrendering into this incarnation. Taking the reins and loosening our grips on them. And support is, well, again, multifaceted, but receiving support, being open and asking for the support that we deserve and that we all have a birthright, to receive, and supporting ourselves as well.
Wow. That really empowers people to take their resilience back into their hands, which in the world right now is so challenging because it's filled with the language of restriction. And the media, the news is filled with restriction, historically ingrained restriction. So I do think the only way forward is this. The 3 S's is incredible.
Yeah.
Christa, you are absolute magic, and I am so honored to hear your voice again. And every time I speak to you, I get shivers. It's so funny. Every time you post, the first thing that you say is exactly what I need to hear in that moment. And you are medicine for the world, whether you realize it or not. And I just hope that you continue to put out with the creative expression that you have been putting out, and continue to be a vessel for whatever God or the divine has for you and everyone around you.
Thank you so much, Nikita. I will.
So this concludes our time together, unless you have anything else you'd like to add. And
No,
I'd like
I feel
you to
like
share.
That is a perfect. Sure.
Oh,
Go ahead.
I agree. I'd like you to share. No, that's okay. Where people can find you. So you are the director of New Motive Mag Collective.
Yeah.
And you have a new magazine coming out. Is that right?
Yes.
And where can people find it, and where can people find you if they want to experience some of your medicine themselves?
Thank you so much, Nikita. So I have two main accounts that I'm active on, most days as a part of the commitment to the creativity. And so that's my personal page, which is my full name, no symbols, no funny business. Christa Fontaine, and newmotive.co, which is the Instagram handle as well as the website. And all of my personal expressions and access to me can be found through newmotive.co as well. So it's all there in my personal pot of honey, and newmotive.co.
Amazing. So I will post this down in the show notes. And again, Krista, it is such an honor to be with you on this podcast. And I dream of the day that we do another recording in person.
Me too, Nikita.
Sending
Much
all
love.
the love.
Yeah, I can feel it. We don't have to even, I mean, there's no, the description is in the moment. I feel it
You're
immediately. So thank you
amazing.
so much.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. See you later.
See you.